Right now on our Lewis Automotive Hotline is Alyssa Orange, the host of the Varsity Vibe podcast. I'm going to remember to program that into my brain, Alyssa. This is the second week in a row we're introducing you as this. How's it going today? Where are you?
Doing well, guys. It is a nice afternoon in Little Rock. Drove down to Little Rock, Brandon Marcello and myself to go check out Jimmy Johnson at the Touchdown Club. And, you know, after 12 years here, Phil, I've yet to be present at a Touchdown Club, and I think Baz was getting really offended, and so I told him that I would come since he brought Jimmy Johnson, and as a massive Dolphins fan, I am here.
Oh, that's right. He did coach the Dolphins. I'd forgotten. He did.
I know. People are like, Arkansas Cowboys. I'm like, no, but this one time, he was the Dolphins coach.
Yeah, he's pretty good there, too.
And that is why I'm here. Yes.
They did well with him as the head coach.
They
right?
did.
I don't remember too much about it, but I remember he was all right.
Yeah, it wasn't bad at all. And you know, glory days, per se.
That wasn't Chad Pennington and Ricky Williams, was it? Who was the quarterback?
No, I don't.
Was there?
I think was that end of Marino?
Was it? Okay.
Still? I got to look. I got to go back and I got to look.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad, you know.
He was there with Marino. He even had a couple of former Miami Hurricanes with him on his first Dolphins team with Craig Erickson and Bernie Kosar, for crying out loud. That's right. Yeah. He was there at the end of the Marino era.
So he was there when Thunder Dan threw that interception against Jacksonville, and Jacksonville whooped them in the playoffs. Right, that was Dan Marino's last.
Okay. Okay.
I do remember that.
Well, it's good to talk to you two guys. I'll see you next week.
No, Alyssa, no.
We know how to get under Alyssa's skin. It's pretty easy. That's right. Well, I mean, everybody, obviously, his time with the Cowboys is top of mind right now with this Netflix special.
Sure.
But anytime he's coming into Arkansas, I know, it's just, it's going to be, wait till you see what this is like, too. It's been a while since I've been to the Touchdown Club, Alyssa, but I guess the last time I was there must have been 8 or 9 years ago, and it's grown since then. It's truly something to see. Yeah. You don't see this kind of organization across the country in cities like Little Rock or states like Arkansas.
Yeah, and, I told you, I drove down here with Brandon Marcello, and he was saying that this is one of the best in the country. And again, I've never been, so this is my first take, but just to kind of point out exactly how big today's event is, we are not where they usually hold this. We're at the convention center because they needed a bigger venue because of so many people wanting to come in hear from Jimmy. So that just kind of speaks volumes to what Baz has not only grown here at the Little Rock Touchdown Club, but how popular Jimmy Johnson is as their second guest of the season.
That's wild, yeah. So I see the latest episode of Varsity Vibe has Bentonville West head coach Brian Pratt and quarterback Trey Thompson just kind of getting in with individual teams on not quite a daily basis, but previewing a lot of the teams coming into the season. Is that what's been going on Varsity Vibe for the most part? And you also made a point last week. This isn't just about football. This is about all the sports that are taking place at that time in high school. We think football, basketball so much, but there's so much else going on.
You know, there really is, and that's why it was important for me. For example, there was the 6A West golf tournament at Fayetteville Country Club yesterday, and so I have a friend of mine who I'd known prior to this, who is the golf coach for the girls' team at Bentonville, so I just was like, hey, make sure to send me some of you guys' updates and the results so that I can give you guys a shout out, which is exactly what I did. And a friend of mine coaches the Fayetteville volleyball team. And so again, giving them a shout out when they started their season there yesterday too. So again, we want to make sure that we're highlighting and giving shout outs and telling stories of all the athletes. But football is king and everybody knows that. And right now with high school football starting on Friday, just getting to know all these teams and how they feel about their team heading into the season. And last week we kind of looked at the top 5 seniors that are people to keep an eye on. And, you know, all of them are going to play football at a high level, a D1 level next season. And now it's kind of like, okay, talking to Bentonville West, talking to Heritage, which, again, Heritage 0-10 last season, actually on a 19-game losing streak. But what is, you know, Coach Munoz over there excited about? The opportunity to kind of continue to turn things around. Springdale and the way that Springdale has been able to blossom again under Brett Hobbs and being able to just make sure that all the teams, specifically where we are in Northwest Arkansas in the 7A West, Farmington, Shiloh, looking ahead to what this season could look like. And that's been the focus this week before Friday. And then I also was able to sit down with a couple golfers and volleyball players, and I've got a lot more on the table too. So it's been really exciting to kind of delve into this again and talk about what's going on in the world of high school sports and also learn about these athletes and coaches that we're talking about too.
I saw Heritage scrimmage Poto last Thursday, Alyssa. It's going to be a long year for Heritage. Don't see them winning more than 3. That was one of the softest football teams I remember seeing. I told Phil, I said, you could tell Poto was some guys that were playing the dirt, and Heritage is some guys that people shop at, the Gap or Walmart. They were very light. One of the things I want to know, Alyssa, is when you talk to these kids, these 5 kids or these kids that are going to play Division I football at a high level, what is their opinion of the Razorbacks? How come we're losing? Are they not even getting looked at by the Hogs? But it seemed like 20 years ago, you had kids in the state of Arkansas that could play high level. Some of them were going to be Razorbacks. Now it doesn't. Nothing seems like it's a guarantee. Do they not? I mean, what is their opinion on the Arkansas Razorbacks?
Alyssa, real quick, just to cut in because somebody brought this up earlier. There are 5 Arkansas natives on the Razorback 2 deep. There should be more.
Yeah. And that's kind of the world that we live in, right? Just in general with college football and the transfer portal and where the coaches feel like they needs and the talent in which they go and get them and where they get them from. But back to, your point, Matt, you look at two of the guys. One of them I didn't talk to in wide receiver Blair Irwin the third at Bentonville, but I did talk to Daquan Prevost, who transferred up here from Texarkana to play his final senior season at Bentonville. He is also a wide receiver commit at Arkansas. And then you have Kendrick Williams, who's at Fayetteville, who is a linebacker, DB over there, and he is committed to Arkansas. But then we talked to Braxton Lindsay, and Braxton Lindsay is committed to BYU. Highly recruited linebacker. He was recruited by Arkansas, chose to go to BYU. Then you have Cody Taylor. Cody Taylor's going to Charlotte. And then Kane Archer, which we have talked about Kane Archer, I feel like, for years now since he was a freshman, now entering his senior season, and he is going to UCF. I asked him about that, and he had actually gotten a card in the mail from quarterback coach Mackenzie Milton, which it's crazy to think that Mackenzie Milton is a quarterback coach at UCF because I feel like he was just out of college. But that's the relationship that really made Kane commit to UCF and go play for the Knights and leave the state of Arkansas and go all the way to Florida because of the relationship that he built and the connection he had right off the bat with Mackenzie Milton. And he just felt like that was who he wanted to play for and who he wanted to grow under. And he's got an opportunity to play really early. And he made an emphasis on that. I got an opportunity to play early. And maybe that goes into the decision. Connections go into the decision. And a kid in Arkansas's backyard at Greenwood, where we have seen so much talent come from that program to play at the University of Arkansas, their quarterback right now is going to go play at UCF because of how he feels that fits his success and the career trajectory that he wants to go. And that's just the world we live in right now.
Mm-hmm. It is the world we live in, but it's also understood that a lot of those players may eventually make their way back to Arkansas if they're good enough,
right?
If they perform well where they are. Or
if they don't, Courtney Crutchfield come back, it's like, and what is he listed 8th on the depth chart? So maybe he still won't even play this year.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. Yeah. And Marty, well, I can't, his name on our text line is from the show Ozark, but he does say, but is there that much talent here? Or is the talent mostly playing basketball? See, that's what we hit on last week with you.
Oh, yep. Yeah.
It's not that Arkansas does not produce great athletes. And I think per capita, this state probably produces great athletes on a higher level than a lot of other small states. It's just how many of them are playing football.
Or even some of our faster athletes that go to track. I think Wallace Spearman. I think of Tyson Gay. I think of Jordan Anthony. There's a lot of guys that are track guys.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting to look at and to dissect and to dig into. I think it's fascinating the shift there that I think has happened from the talent of basketball that the state has here in Arkansas compared to the talent of football, and how I think it's almost swapped. I think there's more basketball talent here in the state than there is football talent. I don't think that's unfortunate necessarily. That's just kind of the trend at the moment. But it also doesn't mean that you there's not a lot of talent here in Arkansas for football. That's why Arkansas is not recruiting. No, you should still recruit the top talent in your state, regardless of what sport they play. I just think that basketball has started to really rise while football talent has declined. And I think that just shows from some recruiting numbers.
I got a text.
And there's not much that you can do.
Well, there's a text here from Andy that brings up an interesting point. Now, I'm not trying to put blame on anybody here, but he points to the emphasis on, or at least the influence from AAU basketball, which, I mean, I don't know if football necessarily has that kind of a thing where you have where you got showcases. I know there's showcase tournaments and all that kind of stuff in camps, but that's a difference between baseball, basketball, and football, where the travel teams, kind of. That's got an influence too, and I wonder. You're talking when you think of the word varsity, you think of high school, but I think what you're also covering more than anything is just youth sports, amateur youth sports, which encompasses AAU as well.
Yeah, it's just that's where the time. I mean, the basketball circuit over the summer, we had one of our creatives who is been in the basketball world for a really long time, well connected in that world, spent 2 weeks in Ohio with an AAO girls basketball team. Two of those girls, Easton McCullough, who is probably going to be one of the best players, if not the best player in the state, one of the best in the country, plays at Farmington. Her mom is the coach at Farmington. Going to be highly recruited right in Arkansas's backyard. And she's got a whole bunch of other really talented players on her team. She's just a sophomore, I believe, at Farmington. That's just what the talent is. But he spent 2 weeks with them on this Ohio travel tour where they played all the best teams in the country and, all of that stuff. And so the travel is there, the notoriety is there, the attention is there. And another thing too, that when I was talking to Coach Munoz yesterday for Heritage, one of the things when he got here and he took over, knowing that this was going to be a little bit of a labor of love, there were no youth programs. He was like, we had to come here around Heritage. There was just no developmental programs, which kind of sounds funny when kids, you're thinking about youth sports. But he was like, we didn't have any, So, we had to start that. And, how do you expect football talent to develop at a young age and go through these ranks and continue to get better if there isn't any place for those kids to do that? And so he was making an emphasis on, we got here and we had to start some programs so that by the time these kids in our area are here at the high school level, they've been playing football from since they were 6 or 7. And it's the same thing with Coach Harbison at Rogers. He told me, he said, the biggest thing that I knew was that we needed to get better on a developmental level on the lower level tiers of our football program in the football tree. And now he's saying how Rogers has continued to progress in a successful way. It's because if we get these kids in our system at the junior high, middle school level, and they're learning and developing, then by the time they get to us, they're not only where we want them to be, but they're highly, highly recruited, potentially collegiate athletes. But that's that development rank as you talk about basketball, that football might still be behind a little bit in certain areas.
Yeah, I think you make a good point about that. And here's an interesting thing to think about. The same texter that brought up the idea of is that talent playing basketball puts this point across. I love this. Could you picture J.J. Andrews, top incoming recruit for next year's men's basketball team, Sean Andrews' son, if he'd have chosen football over basketball, 6'7", you picture this kid at tight end or defensive end, and obviously he's playing a sport that he loves, and maybe that's what it's about more than anything else. But his dad was an awfully good football player.
Yeah. No, he could. I mean, think about it. LeBron played basketball, but LeBron has said, man, I could have been a football player, but I chose to play basketball. I had
a coach, Alyssa, that was at Jacksonville with me. He said they offered LeBron as a sophomore. They saw tape on him. You're exactly right. They offered him at USC to play. Because he only played his sophomore year out there. Sure. And the thing on his boy that went to the Lakers, that apparently he was an all-state type receiver too, but his dad wouldn't let him play. I think we're still a little bit of the concussion protocol, a little bit of the moms that if you have money, you're not going to let your kid. It's a way out. If you don't have money, you let your kid play, but it's so dangerous, football is, that if they don't have to, people hold back. They're like, hey, don't go play football because of all the brain injuries.
I mean, I wouldn't be lying if I'd have to have a serious conversation. Finn asked me about playing flag the other day, and I was like, yeah, we'll talk about it. And I love the sport.
You like, go play soccer, go play baseball, go play basketball.
My son
exactly.
He's tiny. He's a tiny little boy. Like, he'd be really fast. But he's small, and yeah, I think, too, there's that first sense of, like, oh, my gosh, like, that's, like, yeah, we'll sign you up for rec softball and basketball and baseball, and, oh, you now want to play football. Hey, let's talk about that. And I don't think you have that hesitation with all the other sports. So I think you're right. I mean, I'm a mom, and that's the first thing that pops in my head.
You don't always win your first bet. That's why MyBookie has you covered. Use our code HOGS, H-O-G-S, and your first bet up to $500 is fully covered. If your pick doesn't hit, you get it right back with our Bet Back bonus. Go to mybookie.ag and use the code HOGS to claim your Bet Back bonus. MyBookie's, where bettors win together, because bragging's good, but cashing in is better. And your first bet is fully covered. Use our code HOGS.
Got a little jingle